Well, there was, I heard about it the same way everybody else did, and there was a few dozen people going through that process, and I think, I, I don't know when I found this out, but sometime while you're in there in custody, somebody came around from the federal government to each of those arrested with an agreement, a waiver to sign, so to agree that pretty much to do away with your right to a speedy trial. They could take a additional period of time to prepare for their prosecution. And the thing that was notable about that is one person didn't sign it. I never heard of Leona Baldini until she got arrested.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't sign that.
Yeah, she wanted to bring the prosecution or the case right away out. A lot of the attorneys still didn't understand the parameters of the whole case, and many were.
Obviously, the prosecution didn't understand it because because they, with Baldini, they kept asking for, and they got it from the judges, extensions. I mean, there's federal law is very strict. From the time of the arrest till trial, it's supposed to be 100 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they stretched that out as long as they could. They said this is a very complicated case, and they said, well, that's not what you told the grand jury.
That's exactly right. As much as you say that they didn't get it, actually, when you put all the evidence, they knew exactly what they were doing and exactly what their motivations were, as it turns out, when you look back at
that date of arrest was very important to them.
Oh, absolutely. It had to be done, and it was done in a window. Remember, this investigation being done on the local level for local elections is unparalleled in the history of American justice. You've never had a sting, if you will, go forward in a time frame when an election is going on, mainly because the law says that government doesn't have the authority to get involved and affect the outcome of an election. Now, if someone had made a complaint to the government that there was actually a crime and this wasn't the mechanics of their own sting, then that's a different story. But this was the mechanics of the government. They were putting a government operative into the middle of an election.
We're going to have to get into that in depth.
Okay.
Let's get back to Ms. Baldini for a minute. Her lawyer is a fellow named Brian Neer.
Brian Neer, yeah.
And I read his, I guess his brief or whatever to the court. And one of the things that he said is, you guys chose the date of the arrest. I mean, they know they have 100 days.
Yeah.
They're the ones that says this is a good time to arrest. So why are you having a problem now meeting your obligation to a speedy trial?
That's right. But you got to realize something too, Mike, is that in most of these cases, the government doesn't anticipate anybody really, or the majority of people going to trial.
Right.
Their track record is, and they like to flash this out there, we're 98%, 97% prosecution rate. Well, that's of people that make plea deals. Now, when you look at the people who decide to fight cases that don't fall within the 97%, the numbers are a bit different, but they were alarmed that someone was going to challenge them on this. They thought that they had a slam dunk. I think what they looked at was, and if you've read the book, The Jersey Sting, the authors of the book got a sort of semblance of what the attitude of the prosecutors was towards Hudson County politicians, and that was that they're all scum
it's an advantage to them that it's also the general perception. When they choose a jury, the jury, most of the people that are going to serve on jury are of the opinion, if they arrested you for this, you probably did it.
Exactly right, and the prosecutor knows that, and that's why they feel that they're comfortable that they're going to get a plea out of people. And in most of the cases in Bidrig, most of them got pleas, and including some people who I know personally were innocent and just agreed.
Okay, you're probably talking about, like, say, Mariano Vega, for instance, right?
Well, him and I'm talking mainly about Jimmy King. He
Okay.
could not be. He admitted at the end of the day to pleading guilty to mail fraud when they cannot convict him on a mail fraud charge based on the circumstances of his,
Okay.
of his indictment.
At the same time, it's not that he was innocent, it's just he hadn't done something that he could be charged with.
Exactly
federally.
right.
Okay.
And
So that's different from
yes,
being innocent.
yes,
And that's one of the things that does, I think, muddy the waters. When people try to look at this as all one big monolith, there's people in there that were swept up
listen,
who are dirty.
there's no doubt about it. But and this is the important thing of people understanding justice system. A trial is about guilt or innocence, okay, and the determination of that. Due process is about all the steps that lead up to the trial and the determination of guilt and innocence. And what I'm saying is, for everybody in that sting, whether they were guilty or innocent, okay, the due process was seriously flawed, gravely stacked against them, and the government broke the law.
All right, here's where you and I part ways, okay? You're trying to mush it all back together again. I'm trying to separate this a little bit.
Okay.
I think there's a difference between Lou Manzo and Joe Cardwell, okay? I think there's a difference between Joe Doria and John Guarini, all right? There's a difference between Harvey Smith and Ed Cheatham, okay? You've got 3 people that didn't do anything wrong and 3 people that did. They did a lot wrong with their eyes wide open.
You're right,
Okay.
but again, I'm only going to say this, that even those who did things wrong and admitted to doing things wrong, our Constitution guarantees them due
Right.
process. That the government cannot come in and frame somebody or go after them for reasons other than
Right.
what they're telling a judge.
I understand that, but I think there's a separate and better point.
Yeah,
to be
I
made.
mean,
Okay.
you're making an ethical point, and that's proper. But I'm making a legal one, and the legal one is that even those who might have been guilty in some of their actions in this case, they still have rights under the Constitution of the country.
Okay. The other thing that I'm trying to point out, the reason that the distinction makes a difference is because those 3 guilty people that I talked about, that's not going to get Christie an election, okay? They need Lou Manzo, they need Harvey Smith.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, no doubt about that.
All right, so this is the motivation behind this.
No doubt about that.
All right, do you want to give us some background on Christie?
Christie is a lawyer, we know that, but he once ran for freeholder in Morris County, and he began his career in politics as wanting to be somebody, a Republican Party politician. He won in an upset election for the freeholder seat. He wound up being sued the very first day after that election because he libeled his opponent in that election, accused him of being corrupt when he knew in fact they weren't, and he wound up settling the case out of court. He then challenges the incumbent Republicans for assembly within 2 years of him becoming a freeholder, and becomes a pariah in the party, and loses the election, and Chris Christie is cast on the sideline. He happens.
Take a break there,
Okay.
okay?